This is a Santorini earthquake update for the 25th of April 2025, the next 80 days. Generally, things are relatively quiet in the southern Aegean compared to what they were during the main swarm, and things generally look to be getting quieter slightly over time. In this Santorini earthquake, I'll look at the activity over the last year until now, look at where we are, look at some ground movement patterns, and then I'll dig into some analysis on why in 80 days from now that could be a key time with regards to what could happen next. This video is based on an article on strikeengine.com. Link is in the video description, and in that article there's a link to all the data sources I use in this video. So general activity, so the last 30 days, as I said, pretty stable, and arguably things are getting slightly less hectic, or should I say just quieting down slightly over time, very slightly. If we compare that for the year to date, started off very quiet. We have the peak of the earthquake swarm in February, more or less, and you can see that's generally getting quieter as time goes on. So given all, I'm not saying everything is getting quieter, everything's quiet, but where are we relative to what is normal activity for the southern Aegean? So from Volcano Discovery, all these images are from volcanodiscovery.com, link in the article I should say. So during 2024, the southern Aegean had 1,527 earthquakes of all magnitudes, and if we look at April 2025 only, in April we've had 2,333 earthquakes. So we're getting around 20 times more earthquakes than normal at the moment. So this is not ended by a long shot. Granted, it's down a lot from where it was, but still things are way up. Let's look at some seismic data just to see if they're backing up the numbers that we're seeing from Volcano Discovery. We'll look at the main seismograph on Santorini. So this is from the 17th of April 2024. This is what it looks like. And then looking at on the 24th of April 2024, we can see that there's a lot more ink at the moment, and that tallies with the number of earthquakes that Volcano Discovery is registering. So yes, the underlying volcanic seismic activity is still well above what would be the norm. Quick look at earthquake locations. This is the last 48 hours in the southern Aegean. I've zoomed out on this, guys. There's nothing in around this area. They're all packed in. All the earthquake activity in the southern Aegean is packed into this area here, which is where all the epicenters have been throughout this earthquake swarm. So no real change here, only in numbers. And then we come on to the most interesting thing of the whole update, if you like, is the ground movements. So we'll look at the main, in my opinion, the most reliable seismic, GNSS station in Santorini, which logs ground movements. So this is the data for back to 2020, but we're interested in this year. So I'll just highlight the highlights. So the earthquake swarm started around this time. So basically the acceleration in northward movement coincided with the earthquake swarm. And what's interesting, I think is interesting, is that Santorini is still moving north at the same rate it was when the earthquake swarm started. So we still have, with regards to northerly movement, we still have the same conditions now as we did when we were at the peak of the earthquake swarm. So that's something to bear in mind. Easterly direction, nothing to write home about here. That didn't change throughout the earthquake swarm, so I don't see any key points to highlight there. But then we come to the vertical movement, i.e. how much the ground is rising or falling in Santorini, and I think this is very, very interesting. So the key points here, I think, is this point here and this point here. So much like the northerly movement, which went from southerly to northerly around August, let's say 2024, we can see that in August 2024 the Santorini ground lift at this specific GNSS station increased its rate of rise at the same time as the island started to move north, which it's interesting on its own, but during this time there was that earthquake swarm was not happening. But what we can say is that when the earthquake swarm started, the land started to drop. So throughout this period here, as the land is dropping, this is when we were having the earthquake swarm. So for me, that as a layman, I'd say this is a correlation. For some reason, the land dropping in Santorini caused or happened at the same time as the earthquake swarm. So that on its own is interesting, but I think what's doubly interesting is that now we are seeing the earthquake activity drop off from its peak. So coming back to this graph here, so saying around this area here, say the 1st of March, we are seeing that the land has started to rise again. So it was rising before the earthquake swarm, it was dropping during the earthquake swarm, and it's rising again. And I think something else, which may or may not be something, but it was at plus 40 millimeters approximately. That is when, in that area, is when the earthquake swarm started. So we had that increasing land rise, and we're seeing it again now. So why am I talking about 80 days? Why do I say 80 days is probably, or that region, not exactly 80 days, but in that area? Why is that important? At the moment, this land rise looks like it's continuing in a pretty straight line, and this will get back to this point, the plus 40 millimeters, in around 80 days from today. So at the last time it was at plus 40 millimeters, we had the earthquake swarm start. And what I'm wondering about now is if this continues at its current rate. If it continues, it might not. Are we going to see the earthquake swarm start again? I can make some hypothesis. I can speculate, if you like. This at 40 millimeters, the land being pushed up, it created pressure. The pressure was relieved. If you saw the previous videos that I've done, there was a theory of a lava dike leaving Santorini in this direction, and the theory was that this was draining lava away from Santorini, and as the lava was draining into it, this was what was causing the earthquakes in this area. The lava moving in this direction, filling the crust here, causing earthquakes. But for some reason that stopped. Maybe because the pressure under Santorini is less and it's not enough to push the lava. Maybe that's the reason. But if it's blocked, it will be interesting to see now what's going to happen if, assuming that we can relate land rise to pressure, if the pressure continues to increase, what is going to happen this time? If the lava dike is blocked, where is that pressure going to go, if indeed there is pressure there? And if the dike is not blocked, are we going to see more earthquakes as more lava starts going into that dike again? So for me, when we get back into this area of land rise, this is when it's going to be an interesting time. And this is why I'm saying that the next 80 days is going to be very interesting, and this is what I'm going to be monitoring. Any further updates I do on the Santorini earthquakes are going to be focused on this. Has it continued? And are we seeing any signs that are we seeing any signs of pressure building, basically? If you want to see more updates like this, obviously subscribe to the channel. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. Thanks for watching. Look after yourselves. I'll see you again next time.